When did the term boutique start to mean 200-300 like now it's like
Yeah.
everybody uses that term.
Social platforms are going to be the new OTAs.
Whoever owns the moment of intent controls the bookings.
Are we going to get a bubble? There are thousands of hotels with hundreds of rooms that still need to be filled.
We're going to be focused on this independent, cool lifestyle and luxury, but I have to market like a bank.
I think that we can give our 2 cents into the stories that are going on.
Will be in your ears and on your screens every Friday morning.
Let's do it.
Let's roll.
This is the gold, bro. This is the gold.
Welcome to This Week in Hospitality, a weekly analysis designed for the people building the next generation of great hospitality brands. Each Friday, we take you beyond the headlines to examine the ideas, the market forces, and the cultural shifts reshaping travel and lodging. This show exists for independent owners, operators, and entrepreneurs who don't have time to sift through noise, but who want to understand what actually matters and how the week's developments will impact the work they're doing on the ground. Our conversations are guided by a team whose experiences span every corner of the industry. We've got Ben Wolff, the visionary behind Onera, one of the most distinctive landscape hotel concepts in the Texas Hill Country, and Awasi, a hotel marketing and growth firm elevating experiential hotels across the states. We've also got Scott Eddy, one of the most respected voices in global hospitality storytelling, trusted by luxury hotel brands and tourism boards around the world to shape how they connect with today's traveler. And we've also got Edwin Kramer, a leader who has run some of the world's most admired luxury hotels as general manager at brands like Four Seasons, Edition, and Nobu Hotels. Edwin brings an operator's precision and a global lens to every conversation. And I'm Zach Boozy-Cruz, head of growth at Journey, a loyalty platform for the world's top independently owned and operated hospitality brands, and host of Behind the Stays, where I've spent years interviewing the founders and creators building remarkable hospitality brands. Together, we break down the news, identify the real opportunities, and help you think more clearly about the future you're building towards. All right, friends, without further ado, get ready to dive into This Week in Hospitality. All right, welcome to the last episode of This Week in Hospitality of 2025. Gentlemen, it is so good to be back with you. We are fighting through internet hiccups, windstorms, downed power lines, and cell towers. It is a cluster. We're literally coming to you from all over the world this week as we round out the year. But we are going to prevail, and it might only be 1-2 of us by the end of this episode, depending on how these internet issues continue. But we're going to give it our shot since we spent a lot of time prepping for this end-of-year pod. I think it'll be one of our best ones yet. We got lots planned in 2026, which we can't wait to talk to you all about soon. But we're going to go ahead and dive in because we have a full docket. We're doing something a little bit different this week, folks. We are reflecting on 2025 and the biggest stories, the biggest trends, the biggest ideas that moved us, and then also talking about the biggest predictions that we have for 2026. So how this is going to work is we're going to start with 2025 and do a 2025 recap. And then we will all go, as many of us as has internet and is able to be here, and we'll go around the horn on 2025. And then once we've done that, we will graduate to 2026. So we've got several categories. We have got 4 categories for reflection in 2025 and 4 categories for predictions in 2026, and then some rapid fire fun stuff that we'll do at the end in lieu of our typical spice of the week. So, Ben, I want to kick it off with you, actually. And the first category is the biggest winner of 2025. This could be a brand, a company, even a segment that had the most momentum or strongest performance of the year. Ben, who was your biggest winner of 2025?
I don't think this is going to come as a big surprise. I've been talking about it a lot. I'm going with farm hospitality, and I'm going to keep ringing the bell on farm hospitality. I think it touches on everything that the modern traveler wants. Authentic local experiences, wellness. You got the farm to table component. You see how everything's grown on site. You can trust and verify yourself. It feels like, and then there's also the nostalgia, right? Getting this tech inundation we have in our normal daily life, removing that. going back to what feels like simpler times. And I think almost everybody wants that for a few days to a week, maybe not to live, but to at least experience that and have the ability to unplug, recharge, know where their food is coming from, and just get that sort of nostalgic farm experience. So the properties that are really leaning into this are some of the best performing properties in the world, right? Blackberry Farm, the new Babylonstrand, and you could even argue some of the like big ranch properties fall into this category too, right? Like Brush Creek or Ranch at Rock Creek, like they have elements of agritourism if you include livestock, and I think both grow at least some things on site as well. Blowing up. I think it's going to continue to. I'm building a brand around farm hospitality with Baya, pretty differentiated from the other ones that I mentioned. But I'm all in on the trend, and I think it's just going to continue.
Would you classify Paws Up in Montana part of farm hospitality ish?
I thought about. I think they also grow some things on site. They have some farm to table and components. So I think there's elements for sure. I mean, a lot like Cliaquat. A lot of these that you might think of as like luxury glamping or outdoor wilderness hospitality. I think there's overflow into agritourism and farm hospitality, and they're incorporating more of that into their stays if they don't already have it.
Yeah.
My Instagram feed would totally agree with you, Ben, as this being a big trend in 2025. I feel like, there were the cabins, there were the glass homes, right? And now it's like farms everywhere. And actually I was thinking about one of the best trips my wife and I try. This is, emphasis on the try because it's really hard to pull off, but we try to like get dedicated time to reflect on like, our favorite trips of years past around the holidays. And we were reflecting actually on this goat dairy that we went to in Vermont a couple years ago. And they make their own like caramels from like goat milk and it's just absolutely incredible. And that was like, I think we went there in 2020. So like, COVID trip, but like right before this segment really blew up. I just went and looked at their rates. Their rates have tripled since when we stayed there at the same time, right? A couple years ago, or a few years ago, I guess now. So couldn't agree with you more there. Scott, what about you, man? What is your biggest winner of 2025?
I have two in this category. I think that the rise of the independent hotels they gained a lot of strength this year because travelers are waking up to the simple truth that loyalty programs are garbage, and benefits get thinner every year, fewer upgrades, more blackout dates, more hoops, less emotional payoff. And at some point, travelers just stop chasing points and start chasing places. This shift favors independence in a massive way. And I think that independents have a lot more flexibility as far as if I shift to put my social media hat on and marketing side, they don't have to follow that guideline book that favors dinosaurs back in the Stone Ages. They can do what's happening now. For a property like a Marriott, anything under the Marriott umbrella, for them to make a shift in social media, it takes like 18 months, and it takes like 15 approvals and this and that, and it's a nightmare. And you're like, yeah, well, the trend's done. You can stop it. It's so. But the other thing, and I think that hotels, especially in big urban cities all over the world, is down. They're down. I actually know hotels. I'm in Phuket right now in Thailand, and New Year's Eve is 24 hours away. I know several hotels here that are not sold out. How is that possible? This is like high season. It's crazy. I think tourism is down globally, even though the list just came out the other day and Bangkok was the most visited city in the world. I know several hotels that are getting crushed in 2025 in Bangkok. I think a lot of places are down 20, 30%. Now, here is the opposite. The cruising industry, and they're basically floating hotels, they're absolutely crushing it. Earnings are being beaten every quarter. Growth is strong. Lead factors are high. Pricing power is back. The order backlog for new ship is the largest that it's ever been. Every shipyard in the world is backlogged for like 5 years. And that doesn't happen in a weak category. That happens in a category that understands its consumer, its customer, it's delivering value, it's clarity, it's consistent. Cruise brands like RCL and Carnival Corp and Norwegian, they aren't recovering, they're accelerating. and they're going 100 miles an hour. I mean, and this trend is not going to stop. I mean, cruising offers, and we can also talk about the high end and the branded like Four Seasons and Ritz-Carlton and Amman at Sea. But as far as a whole, there is no better value in travel than going on a cruise.
Yeah.
Because there's no logistics, there's no Ubers, there's no, there's extra charges. And of course, they try to nickel and dime you every way. But even with that, there's still no better value.
Yeah. I'm curious if this is like pent up demand from like COVID, like finally, like it's been, 5 years. One of the things
How long are we going to talk about pent up demand?
Yeah. Yeah.
Are we still going to talk about it in 2030?
It's been going on 3 years. They've been crushing it. 2-3 years.
I mean,
yeah.
Starting, I would say starting in 2022. So yeah, 3 years.
Wow.
But now you have all the branded residents. I mean, Ritz-Carlton, Four Seasons Yachts coming out soon. Amman's coming out soon. I mean, so Four Seasons, they're so smart. Their first 2 years, they're basically only selling to people that are loyalty to Four Seasons. So they have that huge database. It's unbelievable.
Do you know if they're starting to tap into like more millennial and like say even Gen Z than they used to? Because I still don't like none of my friends are okay.
No,
got it.
No, let me tell you.
Yeah.
So when I was growing up, I grew up in Fort Lauderdale, so I grew up cruising. And cruising, you knew one thing. By 8:00 at night, like you could, like the whole ship died. They could just turn off the lights everywhere because everybody was in bed.
Yeah.
Cruise average age is going down every single year, and it's going down drastically because
they need that to happen. So that's great that they're
100%, 100%.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just great. I don't know if you guys have cruised, but if you haven't, it's a heck of an experience. I mean, you unpack once, countries come to you. It's crazy.
My grandparents were huge cruisers. Like literally, they would do like 4 to 6. They would.
You talk about age group there, yeah.
I know. So that's kind of how I associate it, right? They did like 4 to 6 cruises a year, and they took me on some of them, and it was cool. It was great. Like I brought a buddy on one. We had a good time. But exactly like you said, Scott, there was like on the entire cruise ship, there might have been like a couple of girls that were our age, like literally. Right. So that's kind of how I associate it.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Although I will say, to Scott's point, I had both my sisters went on cruises this year for like the first time. And so, small sample size here, but they hadn't gone before, and they went with their significant others, and they said it was a blast and a great time. So yeah, who knows? Edwin, I want to keep the ball moving here because we've got a lot to get through. 2025, biggest winner of the year.
Yeah, well, I think we agree on some things, right? And that's why probably they're the big winners of 2025 too. So for me, it's the same thing. Independent sub 100 key hotels, the ones that have meaning and purpose, not just the ones with great design, and then definitely the ones who own their own guests, the ones that have direct booking power. You see this with investment funds. The sub 100 hotels and assets weren't the big deal before 2025 to purchase. Everybody's jumping into it. Personalized service, the family type of attention to detail. I think these are the biggest winners of 2025 and the ones to watch for the next year too.
Can I just ask one thing? Because you're talking sub 100, and when did the term boutique start to mean 200-300 rooms? Like now it's like everybody uses that term. And like, I don't know if you obviously know hotel history, but Kimpton was the brand that coined that term. But
no, that was Ian Traeger.
When did the shift happen?
That was Schrager and Rebel back in the day when they were asked what their property was about, and they said, "Well, we don't want to be compared to another hotel, but compare ourselves to a boutique."
Gotcha.
Which was a personalized shopping experience.
When did it change?
I don't know, because I worked with Traeger for years, and we had we had boutique hotels in Sanya, China that was 500 rooms.
Yeah,
it's hard, right? It's one of those words. Like lifestyle, you don't really know what it means anymore.
Yeah.
I think
that's kind of what
changed.
I thought lifestyle. I thought lifestyle is more like what they call bigger hotels that are kind of trying to go for like a boutique vibe. They call it lifestyle. That's what I thought. But apparently, Edwin, there's 500 room boutique hotels, which I didn't know there were.
I didn't know either. Boutique
was the word of like 2023, I think, right? Like everything.
It was big.
yeah, no, that you want to get a bunch of hoteliers in a room and like cause chaos and start a fierce debate. Ask them to define boutique. It's a
lifestyle.
really
Yeah,
interesting
exactly.
Yeah.
Love it,
exercise.
love it.
Yeah.
My biggest winner of 2025, I went a little contrarian. I obviously love the independents. I love the boutiques, right? I said Hilton actually was the biggest winner of the year, and a couple reasons why. They crossed the 9,000 property threshold, so they're right up against the 10K mark. They grew their room counts by 6.5%. They now have 1,000 luxury and lifestyle properties, as well as like 150 that they're planning to open in the next year. They obviously launched their Outset collection. They finally opened the Waldorf Astoria, which was this closely watched renovation over the last several years. It was like a multi-billion-dollar renovation, but it finally reopened. But they also doubled down on creative partnerships. So they have an exclusive relationship with small luxury hotels of the world. They just re-upped that. That's been performing apparently really well for them. They also have like more, creative partnerships. They've got AutoCamp, right, as part of Hilton Honors now. And then also they just announced, I guess this was earlier this year technically, but they announced this exclusive partnership with Peloton. So you can, if you stay at any Hilton hotel, you can watch your Peloton classes in your room, right? So just, more innovative partnerships. And, last but certainly not least, they didn't have a major fallout with Sonder. So I thought like Hilton, right? And even, I would even say their changes, right, with their loyalty program, that's been like, from what I can gather, pretty largely well received. So you have, maybe the underdog, if you will, compared to Marriott in terms of size and maybe reputation, but they didn't have any sort of like major scandals. They got a lot of press for the reopening of Waldorf Astoria. People loved the changes that they've made, again, generally speaking, to their loyalty program, and they're continuing to grow. So I thought, again, a little bit contrarian from where I sit normally, but I thought that they had a good year. All right, let's move to the biggest loser of 2025. Edwin, let's start with you, good sir.
Yeah.
Who was the biggest loser of 2025?
It's sad, but we covered the story, and I think from many perspectives is really the relationship of Sonder and Marriott International. I think Sonder, for a company that grew at a tremendous rate, had potential, mistakes made, and then for Marriott jumping in and perhaps not managing the relationship in the way it should have, or not foreseeing what the future is, we still don't know. But I think also from the way the downfall was handled, the reactions afterwards. So for me, that was the one to highlight, and I think the one that will have a reflect, or an effect on what next year will bring in that segment.
Well said. What about you, Scott? Biggest loser of 2025?
So I'm not going to name any names here other than Sonder, but because this isn't about calling out anyone, it's about patterns. The biggest losers of 2025 were forgettable hotels in vulnerable segments. Full service urban hotels that rely heavily on corporate travel and conventions, they felt the pain immediately. Midweek demand stay softened, rate power disappeared. Really 2025 punished the middle and punished being average more than anything. Because you're never gonna, anything that's reasonably cost is always going to be there for people that need to do it. And luxury, you're just not going to ever be. So it's the middle that really was the biggest loser of 2025. That's for me.
Yeah, I think that's astute. I think that tracks. I'll go quickly on this too because it's related. I said the Airbnb 2020 investor was the biggest loser of 2025, and obviously people like to hate on and shit on the Airbnb arbitrage bros, and have done for the last several years. But I think like 2025 was really like we're 5 years out, right? We've seen massive. I mean, there continues to be an oversupply of short-term rentals in most markets. You've seen occupancy rates just drop dramatically. AirDNA came out with their I think they call it their quarterly look back or their market look back in October 2025. Demand is up 13x for large homes. It's dramatically dropped for 1-2 bedroom condos and homes. A couple other data points that I pulled. here, just for folks that are interested. ADR hasn't collapsed across the board. In fact, actually, AirDNA notes that pricing strengthened by about 6% nationally. Again, this is a large average. This will vary dramatically depending on market, but occupancy rates are falling quickly and quicker than expected, which is pushing the sort of 1 to 2 bedroom condos, the 1 to 2 bedroom homes out of the STR market. So I think, right, 5 years after COVID, when a bunch of people got into this space, people that furnished, with IKEA, as people love to hate on furnishing with IKEA. There's some good things from IKEA, I will say, but yes, people that kind of went all in on IKEA furnished, thinking that they could sublease these essentially rental arbitrage situations. In 2025, you're either out or you've dramatically pivoted your STR strategy. So this isn't a shocker to anyone on this call, but the homes that are differentiated, the stays that are truly unique and experiential, they're crushing it and will continue to crush. Those that got into the game to make a quick buck, I think this is like the final year, and that strategy I just don't think works anymore. You could even argue some of what we saw with Sonder harkens to this broader trend. So that's my biggest loser of the year. Ben, what about you, man? Who was your biggest loser of 2025?
I mean, I think we have group consensus here. So mine was the lease arbitrage model, chasing big brand, chasing growth at all costs, taking on overpriced leases. Like, this whole model just clearly doesn't work when you're trying to do all of those things. I think there's ways that like lease arbitrage can work, and corporate rentals and things like that can work, and extended stays. But this model that, Sonder went after, amongst others, of, chasing big brand and chasing growth at all costs, it just doesn't work. We've seen the graveyard with Sonder, Lux Urban, Domio, and others in years past. So hopefully the mistake will not continue to get repeated. Hopefully this is the last year that we see a bunch of this. I think most of them, if not all of them, have washed out at this point. But I love Scott's as well. I'm going to talk more about this later, but we talked about an article on this, I don't know, a week or two ago, and the headline was that the middle class has been abandoned. I really push against that idea. No one's being abandoned. Just nobody wants the product. Nobody wants the product.
Correct.
So nobody's being abandoned, right? People in the middle class, they want to save up for a world-class luxury experience, or they want to save and go on more of a budget stay and then spend money outside of the hotel room. So I just don't think people want the product anymore. So I think they'll continue to lose.
It's the reason Economy Plus sells big time on airlines.
Yeah.
Because nobody wants economy, but they want luxury, but they can't afford it. So here, let me give you a half an inch more. Here.
and a lot of airlines changing their planes too. There's a big trend in airlines.
Airlines are a whole different
classes.
They're horrible.
Well, I think with airlines though, Economy Plus feels like you're getting commensurate value for the dollars, 100%. Right? Like that additional, it actually feels. Whereas with hotels, if I'm staying in a big brand, full service, pick the brand versus a nice Holiday Inn, it just doesn't feel that different, right?
Correct.
Yep.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep. 100%.
Especially on a long haul flight.
And you might be paying double.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Versus paying 5 times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a really good analogy, Ben.
But you feel like you're getting an experience that's 10 times, right? That's like once in a lifetime. Right?
I'll give you an example. I just bought round trip from Fort Lauderdale to Bangkok, and economy was $1,200. Economy Plus was like $1,900, and then you have economy premium, which was like almost $2,800, $2,700, and then you had Polaris because it was United. And those were $8,000. So, something for everybody.
And to think that at some point,
Economy Plus and economy was huge.
Yeah.
Dinner, spacing.
Yeah. To that point, there's nothing at $4,000, $5,000. Oh, go ahead, Edwin. Yeah.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to say there's nothing at $4,000 or $5,000 that just feels like a marginal upgrade because nobody wants that.
Right. Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and I would argue service, right? Service is like that, in theory at least, that kind of core final differentiator between like a 4-star and 5-star product. And that's, I think with airlines, that actually is where you feel the difference, right? When you do fly first class, the service is dramatically different than it is economy plus. We could talk about airlines and hotels stuck in the middle all day, but let's keep moving here. I want to go to you first, Scott, with this next one. Most innovative company or concept of the year?
So I don't think innovation was particularly flashy this year. I think AI made a lot of flash headlines, but they've been coming for the past couple of years. And yes, they're blazing speed. I mean, they're just changing things, changing industries overnight. But the most innovative companies weren't trying to impress guests. They were trying to make operations actually work better. So a perfect example is Muse. They're not sexy. They're not flashy. They're incredibly effective. They focused on simplifying property management and reducing friction for staff and making systems work together better instead of against each other. That matters when labor is expensive and teams are stretched thin. Another strong example is Oki. Do you guys know this company? OAKY. They ancillary revenue mattered more in a soft year, and they helped hotels generate incremental revenue without annoying guests. Their offers, they made sense. The timing made sense. It was real innovation. And the smartest operators used AI very quietly in the background. The smart ones used it quietly in the background, not to replace thinking, not to flood the internet with noise, but to speed up workflows and improve consistency. So
I love how you brought up. Yeah, I love how you brought up Muse. I was thinking about them. I did not. That was not my pick, but Richard, who's the founder, had him on my other podcast, Behind the Stays, and one of my favorite pods of the entire maybe that I've ever done. He's a philosopher, I think, at heart. And anyways, why I agree with you that they're a company worth highlighting in terms of the trend, in terms of being innovative in 2025 is he's been building Muse for 12 years. 12 years, okay? And I'd say Ben and Edwin, you guys might have more context than I do on this. I'd say over the last 12 to maybe 18 months, I've heard more about Muse than I've heard about any other PMS, number one. And then the number two, than I had ever heard about Muse before, right? So it's almost like this compound, he worked for 12 years to get to this point where they've figured out, I don't know if it's product market fit. I don't know if they really did just have this explosion on the product team this year. I don't know if they, reached some sort of threshold that just helped enable them to spend more on brand and marketing, right? I don't know what
they're really good at marketing.
They're really good at marketing.
They're very good at
they're really good at marketing.
They're very vocal.
But they're really good at marketing.
Yeah. But I'm right there with you, Scott. They were top of mind as an innovative company of the year, and I would never have considered them that before. So love that one. What about you, Edwin? Most innovative company or concept of the year?
Yeah, so sometimes innovation doesn't need to take a lot of new technology or a lot of new large decisions or massive amounts of research. I think sometimes just a quick easy decision makes a massive gives us a massive new direction in our field, right? So for me, it was TikTok. TikTok as a booking channel. For me, that collapsed inspiration, discovery, and booking just into one swipe. And it just might outperform OTAs on attention and conversion. And I think with this whole new generation that's out there on TikTok, I think we all need to watch where this is going to go. But for me, that was a big game changer in 2025.
Well said. What about you, Ben? Most innovative company or concept of the year?
The TikTok Go one was up there for me, but I couldn't give it to them because they partnered with Booking instead of allowing hotels to actually book direct. Just couldn't go there. I'm hoping Instagram does something better and that allows you to actually book direct in 26, so it can be my most innovative in 26. I actually went with a hotel, so my hotelier sort of side of things and developer side of things coming out. So they actually technically opened very end of 24, but I feel like their coming out party was really 25. Desert Rock Resort in Saudi Arabia. I don't know if you guys have seen or heard about it, but just some of the most incredible design, literally villas built into the mountain, right? They have like cliff hanging villas and cave villas, but it's like the ultimate luxury. I'm sure I'm going to get some hate because it's Saudi Arabia, but whatever. It's the coolest designed hotel I think I've ever seen. And it's so I talked to their architect, Chad Oppenheim, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago. And like, we were talking about maybe doing something together. I'd still love to work with him at some point. We've kind of gone more modular, so it hasn't made sense for some of our newer stuff. But he showed me renderings of this. And even me, who's done some pretty wild cantilevered stuff, I was like, man, I don't know if that's actually going to get built. And then when I saw it, open, and I saw the YouTube video, I forget who it was, but it was like a hour-long YouTube sort of showcasing the whole place. I mean, it delivered. I think they were the winner of the Forbes Gold Key Design Award for luxury resort. So
they were.
Yeah, I don't know. I love like somebody really going for it, or a group going for it, and just doing something like you've never seen before. So
did you also see the property over there, Shibara?
Oh no, I haven't seen that one. I gotta
Oh my God. You gotta look that up. That's nuts.
All right, cool.
So my big question is like, why do they get all the cool designs? Is it really just regulation at the end of the day? It's just money. It's just the money. They can just pay architects better than we can.
No, so I think it's the deep pockets and the willingness to just really go for it when you have these sovereign funds or somebody that's like backing it, right? You don't have the CFO or the financial analyst that's like hammering every cost spreadsheet, right? They're like, this is super noteworthy. It'll be globally acclaimed, and they see benefit in that beyond just it penciling for the one property. That's why I think they can get away with it.
And this is also why you see all these crazy new airline first class suites and things like that, because they're also part of these, like Qatar and Emirates, and these aren't funded by one person. These are
Sure.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, they all see the larger picture.
Yeah. My most innovative company or concept, I sort of cheated. I did a concept and then also sort of a company, but they're related. So I said agentic booking. Now I know that it's certainly not mainstream. It's certainly not even close to mainstream, but I used Perplexity's product for the first time to like book a hotel, and it was a very seamless process. And I think about sort of like 2022, ChatGPT comes on the scene, right? Everyone starts talking about it. People test it out, and then all of a sudden, people kind of hate on it a little bit. They're like, "Oh, like it can't." All the knowledge at that time, I think, had gone up to 2023 or 2020, or I guess 2020 or 2021. I can't remember where the knowledge had stopped. Once, obviously, he got access to the internet and was able to essentially just ground its data in search, it exploded. And I think about just the level of consumer trust it's earned in a very, very, and not just ChatGPT, but AI more generally, in a very, very, very short period of time. I think this kind of bleeds into a 2026 prediction, but I do think like we're going to trust these agents to book travel for us. I think jury's still out on like how much discovery we'll want to do right ahead of time, whether that's discovery that we do with our agents or discovery we do on our own. But I really do think at the end of the day, given just I think how consumer sentiment has shifted to using these tools, we will trust our agents to book the best hotel rooms for us, right? Once they know the vibe that we're looking for, et cetera. So I think agentic booking, most innovative concept of the year, and specifically Perplexity and Expedia's relationship. So I don't know how closely you guys followed this, but it was pretty smart. I think Expedia, maybe it should have been Expedia as my winner of the year in terms of innovation, only because they're a dinosaur, right? They've been around forever, but they've jumped on these like AI deal opportunities that have surfaced, I think, faster than any other of the large travel companies. And I think an example here is, so they partnered with Perplexity. So if you use Perplexity's Comet browser, you immediately earn Expedia's like silver status for like their one key loyalty program. So they just like built in these like simple but like smart, I think, hooks that they're now using, Perplexity as demand gen and distribution. So I think like, again, still certainly not like widespread by any means, but it worked for me and it was easy. And I was booking for a group, so like made the whole process of booking for a group 1,000 times easier than if I had to go do this in a traditional search route. So I think agentic booking had a big win, and I'm excited to see what happens with it in 2026. All right, biggest plot twist of the year. Ben, let's start with you on this one.
So I got to go back to Sonder, but so not the Sonder bankruptcy. Like I think I saw that coming for 4 years. It was the breakup with Marriott and how guests literally were kicked to the curb
So
mid-stay. Like I was so shocked by that, just given Marriott's brand, reputation, all the rest. Like it just seemed like either a terrible misstep or again, like we still don't know something that was going on that forced their hand to do that. Because I just have to imagine that's like just the last of the last of the last resorts to do that, right? And have it blow up in your face in that way. So that was by far the most shocking plot twist, just how it ended.
I think the big winner of the whole Sonder fiasco was hospitality schools, because they can use this as a case study for the rest of their lives. I mean, this is going to make
That's a
the
hot
greatest class session ever. This is because it's like comical. It's like a soap opera.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll just piggyback on this one, Ben, because I said a similar thing. I was just shocked that the quintessential brand of at least our lifetime in terms of hospitality at all levels let this fallout happen in such a public and dramatic way,
Yeah.
right? Like, I mean, it consumed multiple news cycles, right? It made it into like the New York Times. I got an alert right from the New York Times
yeah.
about like this was way bigger than any sort of just hospitality story,
100%.
and the fact that it seemingly happened just overnight in terms of just the off switch was it just leaves we all still have so many questions, and so I really do hope like we learn. Like I hope there's something more to we just really weren't paying attention, and then all of a sudden it was like, damn, like we got to shut this off now, and some executive just made the call to cut ties. Hopefully there was something a little bit more juicy that we can get into. Maybe we'll learn more next year. But yeah, that was my biggest headline of the year. What about you, Edwin? Anything other than Sonder?
I won't talk about that anymore until next year. Listen, this one's pretty close to home. This is Soho House going public in 2021 and then going private again in 2025. I've been a member for a decade plus. I have to say in the last years, it hasn't gone a lot better than it used to be, not from a service level. Prices have gone up. You pay sort of the same prices for drinks and food as you would elsewhere. Plus you have your membership fee, which was never sort of the intention. I think they've added a lot of members, a lot of young members, because they have a lot more years to go as a member if you're 24 and 25 and sign up. So the demographic changed inside the houses, but I think somebody realized what was going on. A big consortium fund led by Ashton Kutcher. They jumped in, and I really look forward to seeing if they can bring this back to what the club was meant to be. Right from the day one. So I think that was a big twist. You don't see that happen very often.
That's a good one. Yeah, I was curious. I'm not a member, but I've been like a guest a few times, but I haven't been a guest since they went private. And so I was curious to check it out and see if there was any sort of like meaningful difference. Now it's still
Not
early.
yet.
To be fair,
It'll take
right?
some time.
No.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. What about you, Scott?
The biggest plot twist for me, it wasn't that demand fell. Most people saw that coming. The real twist was that expectations rose at the same time. So people travels less, but every trip mattered more. A bad experience didn't feel minor, it felt personal. And guests were far less forgiving than they used to be. And at the same time, marketing got harder. Ads got more expensive. Performance got shakier. Organic reach has always declined every year for the past 10 years, but now it's just crazy unpredictable. I mean, literally the only place you can grow right now is LinkedIn, just because there's more people than content, but that's going to change soon because LinkedIn's getting more and more popular. But yeah, it's just, you can't outmarket disappointment, and you definitely can't hide it anymore.
That's very meta of you. I like it, Scott. All right, gentlemen, we have wrapped 2025. It was a fantastic year. Let us go into 2026 predictions now. Ben, let's kick it off with you, sir, with our first category here, the company to watch in 2026.
Yeah, so I must have misread this at some point. I have two companies actually, but they both fall into one category. And for me, this is a category to watch, and that's urban experiential. And people, what does experiential mean? It's actually on one of the, later when we're going to talk about like overused words. To me, it's very unique, one of one experiences. Stories that you can tell for years, people wanting that differentiated look and feel, and being willing to pay for it. And I think that urban for a long time is just kind of banked on location, let's say size of event space, conference space, et cetera. And I think that like some real differentiated urban experiences are starting to happen and are really going to accelerate in 26 and beyond. And the two brands that I wanted to call out were Janu, which is like Aman's new sister brand, that is more
Amazing.
urban focused. And it's more like social wellness offerings and more like community focused. And you get this like authenticity and local flavor with the experiences, like doing crafts with local Japanese artisans and things like that I think is pretty new for an urban hotel brand. It's typical of these like far-flung destination hotels like an Aman, but not of an urban property. And so I think, Janu right now just has the one Tokyo location, but a bunch more set to open. And I think that's going to do really well. And then Ciro is the other one, which is very like fitness and recovery focused. They have one location in Dubai, but they're all in on that fitness, wellness, recovery, experiential space. And it's more, again, urban, big market, metro market sort of focused. So I think they actually have one planned for Miami Brickell coming in the coming years. So those are my two companies to watch, but in the same category of urban experiential.
Yeah, really, really good predictions there. Huge fans of both of them too. I follow them on social, and they have incredible content. Edwin, what about you, sir? Company to watch in 2026.
Company to watch. So as a hotelier, for me, this is a hotel company. Capella Hotels, less than a dozen properties, very Asian, top notch, voted consistently. A lot of their properties voted consistently number one, number two in their region. Capella as a company has been voted number one. They're the best company by Travel and Leisure, and they're coming to Europe. They're going to the Middle East. So I think it'd be really fun to see what they can do outside of Asia, because it's such an Asian service ingrained company. Cristiano Rinaldi, who was the CEO, he left to go to Marriott. But Neil Jacobs from Six Senses, he's now on the board. So there are big plans, and it'd be, I think, a really fun one to watch what they're going to do. Watch out, luxury 5-star European hotels.
Excited to see. I've never stayed in a Capella, but they've been on the top of my list, man. So that's exciting. What about you, Scott? Company, or we can also do concept, right? Or theme that you're watching in 2026.
So I think that, and they've already started, and a lot of them are planned to be launched over the next year or two. But I think that the branded residences for the cruise industry, these small, intimate luxury yachts, like Ritz-Carlton, like Mandarin, or like Aman, like Four Seasons. I mean, I think it's just going to blow up. And I just think that all these luxury brands are going to get into it. I know Capella's, in that conversation. So the Bangkok Capella was just ranked number one in the world. And I'm actually staying there in a couple of weeks. So I will.
Ooh, lucky you.
Yeah. I'll be doing the show from there, actually.
Right.
But yeah, I just think the branded residences at sea is just a category that is just going to continue to explode over the next 10, 15 years.
Yeah, I've been dying.
It wasn't very long ago when and I actually got a call years ago if I wanted to work on that yacht, which was called the One, which that was the only one around the world.
The residences at sea.
Exactly, and it was the first one, but everybody seems to be jumping into it. So that's a nice one, Scott.
Yeah.
That's good. It also piggybacks on the whole prediction you had earlier around like cruises, right? And whether we'll see, that you said, Scott, that like the average age of a cruiser is dropping significantly.
Oh yeah.
It's funny too, because my wife's like will not do like a Royal Caribbean or anything like that. But right when she saw Four Seasons at sea or whatever, or maybe it was the Ritz. I think it was the Ritz at sea. She was like, all right, if we're gonna cruise, we can go take this cruise, right? And so it is just interesting, right? Seeing kind of the luxury segment get into this space, especially because I think historically anyways, there's been a, I don't know, stereotype, well-founded or not, around like the kind of people that do cruises, right? And maybe that is shifting, which will be interesting to watch.
Yeah.
My biggest or my prediction on which company to watch in 2026 is Airbnb. I picked Airbnb for a couple reasons. One, they've aggressively launched lots of new things. Experiences kind of had a 2.0 launch, right? They launched services this year. They've in their earnings report, they talked a little bit about how these have performed so far. It looks like experiences has performed okay. Now they don't reveal actual like numbers of bookings or anything like that, but apparently 50% of folks who booked experiences did not have a stay associated with that experience, which is kind of cool. Airbnb's, yeah, go ahead, Scott.
I have booked experiences 4 times, including I booked one this weekend and not stayed at an Airbnb during any of those times. The experiences I've never had a problem. And I actually love Airbnb as a concept. And I know the very high-end properties are always very consistent. It's the mid to lower properties that are crazy inconsistent, which drive me crazy.
Yeah. I was thinking specifically about Brian Chesky's goal is he wants to build a super app. He wants to build a super travel app. He has huge ambitions.
Sure.
But why I think it's worth watching them in 2026 is like they've been trying to break out of like the vacation rental space for years. I mean, he's been talking about
their app is fantastic.
The app is beautiful.
It's great.
Redesigned app, but they haven't done they haven't launched loyalty. They haven't services and experiences are not mainstream, right? People are not using the app on a daily basis like they want. Their AI, they use AI apparently according to their earnings report, right? And it's helped increase productivity by 20% or whatever it is, in terms of how they show content to folks, but there's no consumer facing AI features yet, right? Like I can't truly go and plan my trip with Airbnb in the way that they promised. And so I think 2026 is the year where the consumer is going to wake up and say, all right, Airbnb, you've been promising all these things. They did icons, they did all these big PR, the Airbnb originals, right? And I think this is the year where it's all right, Brian, let's see one of these ideas really come to life. It's one thing to have the vision, right? But as they say, vision without action is only a dream. So I really hope that this year the product does begin to feel like more than just a place you book a vacation rental. And I think in large part it still feels that way. So I also think he's the founder. He's been there forever. I don't know. Is he the guy to take Airbnb to the next level in terms of becoming a true lifestyle app, right? Which is his ambition. Is a leadership change needed? I don't know, but I think that we need to see something dramatic from them in this next year to kind of fulfill a lot of the hype I think that they've been seeding over the last few years. Yeah. Ben, what about you for a big bet that will pay off this year? So this is our next category. A little loose here, but something that we've been talking about as an industry for a while. We've been investing in, but that the consumer or the industry is finally going to realize in 2026.
So it's more about that hotels are finally going to realize, hoteliers and operations and management of hotels. And that's that content is the backbone of all of their marketing. Right. I mean, it drives everything, having good content, your website, your social media, organic and paid, it sort of feeds everything. Good social leads to better AI, presence and searchability. So I think that hotels, in the conversations I'm having, I feel are starting to get it more, the importance of it. And it's not just we need a pretty page that looks like a magazine. And I do think that TikTok Go, and then, I believe that Instagram is going to roll out their version, which I pray every day is
already working on it.
Direct bookings. Yeah, is leading to direct bookings and not with an OTA. I pray every day that that's the route they're going to go. And if that happens, I think that's going to only accelerate this. So, I think you're going to see more hotels, like I talked about a couple weeks ago, have their own in-house, robust, professional content teams, and not just a social media person, right?
Very well said. What about you, Scott?
Well, considering how Ben took my words, I'll just
some of mine. So this is okay.
I'll just keep rolling with that one. I think the smartest bet going forward is treating content like infrastructure. not like decoration. Your digital infrastructure means everything, not campaigns, not one-off influencer trips, infrastructure, consistent storytelling, real people, ongoing presence, and a media library that is built for AI scraping everything that you do. And I don't think, yes, are more hotels getting it? Yes, because you can't go down from zero. You can only go to up. Like hotels move like snails. And yes, are more and more getting it? Yes. Are they getting it fast enough? God, no. Which is the reason me and Ben will have jobs forever. But, if you don't own your own story and you'll keep renting demand. And renting demand gets expensive very fast.
And because hotels are so slow to adopt, that is everybody's opportunity, right?
Yes.
Because everybody else is slow,
Yes.
you go all in, you crush everybody else because the competition is so bad. We'll leave it with that.
It's crazy.
Yeah, very well said. Very well said. What about you, Edwin? You said it was closely related.
It's closely related. So this is fun. No, we don't talk to each other before this. This is all what we all think. So this is really nice to see that we come together on this. So for me, similar line, treat your brand as a media entity, not just a service provider. Own your guests. And I think the hotels with real audiences are going to be the winners. It's going to be more difficult to control the data with agentic AI coming in, OTAs taking a bigger leap at owning the data. I think that direction, similar to you both earlier said, that for me is going to pay off.
Mine is tangentially related to what you all are saying, but it's bringing agentic booking back into the conversation here. I do think like 2026 is going to be the year where maybe there's not mass adoption, but more of us will use AI to like book our first trip than we've done so before. And I actually think, Ben, that this is like, regardless of whether this is through a relationship that Meta strikes with Expedia, Meta strikes with properties directly. I do think just the way that search and discovery happens through chatbots like ChatGPT or Claude, right, is just so fundamentally different than the way that it's happened with traditional search. So the ability to find these independent properties, the ability to discover direct booking websites, right, is just way easier, quite frankly, than it is to find those websites on traditional search. And so I have a lot of hope that agentic booking will reward the hotels that have been investing in direct booking strategies in their own content, in owning their own land, so to speak, over the last several years, and that infrastructure, because it hopefully has been built decently well, is fueled by great content. For I don't know how long this will last, but for a time, and maybe it is in 2026. Those folks are going to reap, I think, more demand from AI search, right, than folks that haven't spent a lot of time investing in their own content and or direct booking strategies. So I think hopefully this is a bet that those who've spent the last 5 years, especially maybe on the short-term rental side of things, but I think also on the independent hotel side of things, preaching the direct booking gospel. Hopefully this is the year in 2026. I think it will be relatively short-lived, but in 2026, hopefully we see some fruits from those labors, because I do think the way that Gen AI search is today, it does reward the property that best fits the prompt and the context of the user, rather than just who's like the best at SEO. Now, my SEO friends would argue that the content's all coming from what ranks best on Google, but fundamentally, I do believe the experiences are different.
Yeah, and speaking of that, what I've been doing a lot of times when I meet with hotels, and I listen, you know me, I'm blunt, I tell it how it is. Like, there's no reason to sugarcoat it. So when I'm sitting down and I'm telling them that their marketing sucks, I actually prove it to them. I say I want them to search for their hotel on Google to see what comes up. But now, you know what I do? I say, ask ChatGPT questions about your property and look at the answers that pop up. This is what they're scraping, and it blows their mind. I urge every hotel watching this to do that and just ask them 10 questions about your hotel that you already know the answer to, and watch their mind blown. It's unbelievable.
That's good. Yeah. For better or for worse. Sometimes I pull the stuff that you're like, what? Who said that about me? Yeah.
You learn
Like
quick.
Reddit. What's Reddit? Oh, a lot of it.
Right.
A lot of the learning happened on Reddit. This is what people
Right.
on Reddit think about us.
Exactly.
What next category here, gentlemen? We're for our listeners, we're getting close to the end here. The big risk or something that was overhyped or we think is overhyped in 2026. So you could take this in a couple of different ways, gentlemen. You could take this as an investment that folks have made that we're hoping will pay off in 2026, but might still be risky. It could be an
Don't talk
investment
about
that you all are thinking of making, in 2026, right? Let's start with you, Scott. Here, what's something that you think is overhyped going into this year, or a risk that you're going to take, or you think others should take in this next year?
So I have two. The risk is clear. Over-leveraged urban hotels with no identity, soft weekdays, rising labor costs, and no pricing power. You're going to be dead because discounting becomes a trap. And once you're in it, it's brutal to get out. So, you need to change like yesterday. Another risk is misusing AI. Not using AI, misusing it. Because AI won't save a bad strategy, it'll expose it faster. So I don't think that, I think that people see the headlines of ChatGPT and, download now and you get a free year of Perplexity Pro. And, they're just going out there and doing it, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but they're not learning. Like watching people, give examples of good prompts and there's prompt engineers on YouTube that have all these instruction tutor. I watch them all the time. I just want to learn. I watch YouTube 3-4 hours a day. I just want to learn. And guys, it's free. I don't know, and I talk about this when I speak at conferences all the time. I don't think people realize the time in our life that we're living in right now. Everything is free. Yes, there's premium models, but you can still live and die on free everything. I do not think it's going to be that way 3-4 years down the road. I think everything is going to have a cost. I think every platform has going to have a pay model. They will have a free model, but it's basically going to be used like a Facebook fan page. 1% of your audience is going to see anything, and you have to pay the monthly fee to get any reach at all. I think people are going to look back and they're going to regret this time of their life.
That is a hot take, Scott. But no. I don't think right, because I think general knowledge would tell you that, well, as there's more of stuff that the price drops, right? General economic theory, right? And therefore there'll be more free stuff, not less free stuff. But I think you're right. Probably the value of that free stuff dramatically dips, and you do have to. Look at what all of our subscription services have done, right, over the years. I think HBO had 2 price hikes just this year, right, which is kind of crazy from not hiking subscription prices for the last couple of years. So yeah, that you could be right here, Scott, which is scary. That's good encouragement. What about you, Ben?
It's scary that I'm right, or it's scary about what's
scary that you could be right. It's scary. It's both. But what about you, Ben? A big risk, something overhyped for 2026?
Yeah, look, I think the whole short-term rental category, which this is coming from somebody that came from short-term rentals, everything is working against you. It's really rough. Look, commodity short-term rentals have been out for years, have been really falling off for years. Then you have all these properties that have these crazy amenities, golf holes in the backyard, but it's kind of this arms race. How crazy can I make my house? But the barrier to entry is still so low. There's a zillion courses teaching you exactly how to do this. Design and hosting has gotten to a more competitive level. So you have that pressure, and then you also have the regulatory pressure where more and more cities are cracking down, more and more markets are cracking down on short-term rentals. Airbnb is now welcoming hotels. So I think there's an element of them seeing the writing on the wall there too. So I wonder how it's going to all shake out, and I just think short-term rentals are going to continue to experience significant pressure in the years to come.
What about you, Edwin?
I see a big risk, and all these fantastic people who set up lifestyle companies. Lifestyle hotels are where everybody wants to jump into. They want to grow too fast. There's an exit strategy. They either sell out to a big brand or join a big brand, and then the big brand takes over. And I think there's a massive risk because cool lobbies, it just not it's not going to cut it anymore. I think we need to really, see who's going to be able to scale all these fun, great, lifestyle hotels that have meaning, that have purpose, and is able to scale that at a level that it's not going to become white noise in the future.
Mine is actually pretty closely related, Edwin. I said maybe that in 2026 will be the first year where it starts to be risky to flag. And like what I mean by that more specifically is, I think the value of flagging with the Marriott, Hilton, Hyatt, et cetera, right, is that they promise consumer demand, right? They have huge brand recognition, obviously discovery, right, and lots of other benefits that come with franchising or flagging with any one of these brands. But I think like in the world that we're living in, right, if we really do believe that discovery is dramatically changing, if we believe that like the ability for consumers to find what they're looking for is never going to be, it's going to be easier, it's going to be faster, it's going to be more relevant than ever before with AI. I do wonder, right, what the core value prop of flagging will be. I mean, the reason you wanted to brand way back in the day, right, was that if someone was driving on the road and they saw a Marriott sign, like they'd pull off the road and go stay at the Marriott because it's a brand that they recognize, right? They built their whole brand off of consistency way back when. And so I wonder if we're getting to maybe some sort of inflection point. I think that this is agnostic of industry, by the way, but I do think it'll affect hospitality in an interesting way where a lot of the value props, a lot of the tools, right, that you need to build your own brand have never been more cost effective. It's never been easier to stand up a brand in some ways. It's never been easier to build a website, right? I'm vibe coding apps, right? And I know I'm not technical at all, right? Like we're in this incredible inflection point. And I think actually flagging becomes a little bit more of a risk. And it'll take time, right, for this to be felt and truly realized. But what is the value of a Marriott Bonvoy member, right? Marriott has 260 million members, right? Well, if none of that data gets shared with you, right? How valuable is that guest really, right? Mm-hmm. How valuable is the name recognition of the autograph collection, like really at the end of the day? So time will tell, but I do think it's never been a better time to think, as Ben says all the time, Scott, as you say all the time, Edwin, as you were just alluding to build your own home, right? Own the land that you live on. And I think that the tools, we're finally in a position where I think the tools are there, the technology is there to actually make this happen.
And the needed visibility is much easier nowadays than it used to be.
100%. All right, folks, last category before we enter into our rapid fire round. Let's go quickly here. Edwin, let's start with you. Next big thing, that hospitality.
Next big thing, yes. I mean, the beginning of the year, everybody, sorry?
Yeah. Next big thing, big thing, go.
Yeah, so at the beginning of the year, everybody talked about personalized stays. I don't think a lot of people knew what they were talking about, what that really meant, right? And I think the next big thing is being hyper-personalization. And I think once we all get to understand what it really means to own data and own the guest, and really adopt a mentality that, what is good for me is not good for somebody else from a guest point of view, we're going to get a race into, who's going to do the better thing for a guest when they stay with us. And I don't mean, understanding what cup of tea I like in the morning, what brand tea I like in the morning, but really hyper-personalization. I think that's the next big thing. And it's going to be a race.
Amazing. What about you, Ben?
Yeah, I think that we've already talked about it a bit, but like this idea of AI SEO, I think it's on the tip of every executive's tongue when in hotel investment groups, REITs, you name it. So I think that there's going to be a lot of investment into that area. And look, a lot of traditional SEO helps, social media helps, having high volumes of reviews, things that have always worked will continue to work. But having better question answer format, maybe people focus on Reddit a little bit more. I think there will be tweaks that are made, and I just think it'll be a big focus for this year. Well
said. Scott, how about you, sir?
Once again, me and Ben exchanged notes before the podcast. It's
what you were doing before.
I really think that discovery, most people think that discovery starts with SEO, and that's the assumption, and it's already breaking. The AEO is going to be all the rage. No longer are people just putting Miami Beach hotel. They're saying, where should I stay in Miami for a quiet luxury experience? I'm not taking my kids. I want a cool happy hour, not within walking distance. I want reasonable prices. I don't want to pay $30 for a cocktail. So don't come to Miami. But, like all of those things, I think I think there's one main problem. Most hospitality brands are invisible to answer engines. Why? Because AI doesn't reward keyword stuffing, blog volume, generic destination pages. It rewards clarity and consistency, and those are two things that hotels are very bad at, as far as
Said.
marketing is concerned.
Couldn't agree more. And I think that there's so much opportunity for folks like you, Ben, et cetera, others to kind of help be stewards during this time, because hotels have never been great at marketing. They're certainly not going to be good at AI anytime soon. And so huge opportunity. I'm sure there's zillions of agencies that have all the rental arbitrage boys are now spinning up GEO and AIEO agencies to help here. Mine's kind of simple here. I think that now is a great time to invest in building a brand. And that's kind of fluffy, but what I really mean is, like, it's never been easier to stand out, and it's also never been harder to be recognized. I feel like that's a Scott-ism. I probably stole that from Scott or somebody else. And I think, like, if you've wanted to experiment with building something yourself, this is the year to do it. Again, as I was just mentioning, tools have never been better. Distribution has never been easier. Really tough, but it's also really easy to go viral. Anyone can go viral, right? And so I think, like, now is the time, if you've been thinking about it or sitting on an idea that you have, to really lean in to build a brand. I don't know how long, again, it'll last before it gets monopolized, but GEO is at such an early stage that it actually is. It feels like 2010 in terms of organic search rankings, right? Like, when you could publish good, consistent content and then quickly rank for the keywords that you wanted to rank for. I think you can do that now with AI search, and jury's still out as to how long that will last. All right, guys. Let's go into the final segment here. In lieu of Spice of the Week, we are doing a quick rapid fire segment. So let's try to keep these extra short here. We'll start with you, Edwin. Jargon of the year. What was the most overused or defining hospitality buzzword of 2025?
Two things. For me, wellness, fantastic, great. A massage room and a yoga class isn't cutting it anymore. Incredible growth, lots of potential, really tapping into a market that has unlimited possibilities, mental health. It's all great, but I think we also need to understand not every guest wants to be fixed or detoxed or optimized on vacation. As long as we keep that in mind, not everybody needs to jump into it. And for the other one for me is redefining luxury. I think there's a handful of people who really will redefine luxury. Everybody else slapped it on their website. I think we need to take it off and really think about what that means.
Well said. Ben, what about you, sir? Jargon of the year.
Yeah, so jargon of the year, I would say experiential. I mean, I think it was in 24 and again in 25. I think it's overused a lot of times by, bigwigs of hotel investment companies, et cetera, that don't really understand what that means and how it's highly unique, differentiated, stories worth telling. It's not just, a vibey lobby. So I think it's just often overused.
Amazing. Well, gentlemen and ladies listening to this chat, we're going to say bye to Ben. He's got to hop off for another call. Given our internet issues earlier, we are crunching on our next call. So see you, Ben. Thanks for the time, man. Happy New Year.
Thanks, Ben.
Happy New Year. Thanks,
Scott,
guys.
let's go to you, man. Jargon of the year.
And it's going to be weird that I say this, in content, the word content, the phrase content. It's not marketing anymore. It's infrastructure. If your hotel, for example, stops posting tomorrow and nothing changed, you never built an asset. You rented attention. And you were just going through the motions. So I don't think that especially the hotel industry, I don't think they understand really what real content is. I think they just like to throw the word around.
That's a good one. I couldn't agree with you more. Yeah, it is certainly a buzzword, because content doesn't mean good content necessarily.
Yeah.
My pick was luxury. Edwin, same thing you
Yep.
said. I really think that word just needs to leave in general. It doesn't mean it's sort of like boutique, like we were talking about earlier. It kind of like
Right.
lost
Right.
its meaning. And so I think barefoot luxury, right, is emerging as the more kind of wellness focused retreats like to say on their website. I think there's other ways to describe what experience that you're offering, and luxury has become so watered down, and it's so relative. So I think that word needs to go. All right, next up here, most underrated shift. So I'll actually start here. Because you guys might not know what I meant by this, anyways. But what I was thinking about is just some consumer shift or B2B shift that happened that's meaningful. I picked a consumer one. I said the shift from like stars to keys, and what I specifically mean by that is we've been talking about how the 4 or 5 star ratings have been decreasing and declining in sort of relevance for years now. But I really think like in 2025, I heard more people talking about how many Michelin keys a hotel had versus like what the star rating was.
Well, just
and again,
because
maybe
they
that's
expanded in more countries now.
exactly. I mean, so yeah, Michelin did work in sort of
Correct.
making this a thing for sure. But in terms of just general consumer awareness and discussion about where to go, I had friends saying, "Oh, you got to go check out this one. They just got 2 Michelin keys." Versus like, "Oh, hey, this hotel just got 5 stars," right? Like, and so I do think
It doesn't mean anything anymore, right? I mean, there's five-star hotels and 5-star hotels, and some of the greatest hotels are 4 stars, just because they missed an amenity or they don't want to do 24-hour room service. I mean, that doesn't make it any less of a category. So I like this one, Zach.
Yep. Well said. What about you, Edwin?
For me, this is AI replacing search. People stopped browsing; they started asking. And it sort of quietly killed the old hotel marketing funnel. So we need to watch where this is going to go. Very short, very simple.
Well said. Scott, what about you, man?
I think that I have 2 things. Number one, the branded residence, the branded cruise industry for the branded hotels. Four Seasons, Ritz, I'm on. I think that is just going to absolutely explode. What I also think is what people really need to start paying attention to is, these Meta glasses and the Google glasses and people don't understand, like, these things are going to be obsolete in 5 years.
Yeah.
Like, everybody's going to be wearing glasses or something on the side of their head where their whole face is going to have the screen whenever they want and just look at something and it's going to be translated automatically. Like, people don't understand, like I buy these glasses all the time. I don't have a relationship with Meta, but people always see me like posting with Meta glasses and this and that. I buy every version because I want to test it out. I want to be knowledgeable when I speak at conferences, when I do all these things. And every version is, do you know the new version on Meta glasses? You can now do a hyperlapse when you walk. Can you imagine doing a hyperlapse video and you're not even holding anything? You're just walking down the street. It's unbelievable.
That's insane. I have resisted up until this point, but I'm so tempted by the latest glasses.
You gotta do it.
Why?
Yeah, I know. I need to get
They're
them.
awesome. I have the Meta Oakleys. Oh my God. Wow.
All right, last category, guys, because we do got to wrap here. But final quick round robin here. Who or what is getting disrupted in 2026? Edwin, let's start with you, man.
Weak brands, hotel websites, and OTAs. I think there's a trio of disruption ready for 2026.
Well said, short and sweet. Love it. I'll go, and then we'll close with you, Scott. I said airline credit cards, and this is maybe a little hot takey, but I think that the Amexes of the world, the Capital Ones of the world, have just gotten so good, quite frankly, with respect to the value they bring to travelers from a rewards perspective. That the value of signing up for Delta's Amex card versus the Amex Platinum, or United's Chase card versus a Chase Sapphire card, I think has dramatically been diminished. Especially American Airlines announced this week, right, that basic economy tickets no longer qualify for miles, right, for earned miles, which is crazy. So I just think that the value, this is a testament to just how successful these credit card companies have become at loyalty and really understanding consumer sentiment. So I think that the value of like a Chase United card is just dramatically declining, and folks will opt in for Chase Sapphire or Amex Platinum. All right, Scott, take us home, man. Final prediction in terms of something that in 2026 is going to get disrupted.
I think the one-off influencer campaigns are basically over. Do I think they'll still happen? Of course they will. It's only because hotels don't understand what they're doing. They don't understand that the second visit is always more valuable than the first, because I always get more value talking about a brand multiple times than the first time when nobody ever hears me talking about that brand. Yeah. Unless you're at like such a household name property like the one in where I just was in Mexico, Tulum, that Ben just signed. If you're at a property like that, then it's a household name in the social media world. But if you're not, I just think the one-off influencer campaigns without a strategy tied to it, this is why I'm going all in on the creator in residence and, staying at a property for a month at a time and just making it my home. And, those are the things that I'm in deep conversations with brands right now. And, so, yeah.
I love that. I couldn't agree with you more. I think we're going to see sort of a resurgence in sort of how folks leverage the personal brands of individuals on the internet to help promote their brands. Yeah. Well, folks, thank you for joining us for another episode of This Week in Hospitality. We are down to two of us. Edwin had to drop. His internet went out. We had a really late start. Ben had to drop. So thank you all for an incredible 2025. We're excited for 2026. Yes. Back to your regularly scheduled programming next Friday. Scott, thank you so much for the time, man. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Subscribe wherever you're listening or watching to this podcast. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you thought about our first few episodes of 2025 and get excited for 2026. Happy New Year, sir. Everybody. Thanks for joining us this week. If any part of today's conversation sparked an idea or helped you think differently about the industry, we'd love to continue the conversation. You can find each of us on LinkedIn, on X, on Instagram, or whatever your preferred social platform of choice is. Links to all of our profiles are in the show notes below. This Week in Hospitality is presented by Journey. Journey is a loyalty platform built specifically for independent boutique hotels and high-touch hospitality brands. Our mission is to give operators the same powerful rewards engine, data intelligence, and guest insights that major chains rely on, without asking them to give up the individuality, the soul, and the story that makes their property so exceptional. At a moment when travelers are craving unique, meaningful experiences and operators are navigating rising OTA costs, fragmented data, and shifting expectations, Journey provides a unified ecosystem that strengthens guest relationships, increases direct bookings, and helps independent properties thrive on their own terms. We're building a global, curated alliance of exceptional hotels, villas, and residences, a network that rewards exploration, empowers individuality, and gives independents the scale that they deserve. If you're an owner or operator of an extraordinary independently owned and operated hotel or residence, and if you want to see whether your property is a fit for the Journey Alliance, you can learn more and apply at alliance.journey.com. All right, friends, we'll see you next Friday. Until then, keep building experiences that are worth remembering.